Welcome to the More Time, More Money and More Wealth mini podcast for business owners, brought to you by Wow Advisors Group. This podcast is dedicated to business owners who would like to work smarter and not harder, earn significantly more income and create astonishing wealth. Now, let me introduce you to our host today, Hitesh Mohanlal.
This is podcast number 9. And today I wanted to talk about what business you're in. And I know it sounds like a really strange question because you're going to say, well, Hitesh, obviously I know what business I'm in. I do landscaping, or I provide labor for other companies, or, various other things that you do, which is what everybody in your industry will say they do. So, for example, we do a lot of tax and accounting. So you could say we are in the business of tax and accounting, and every other accountant and tax advisor in Australia will probably say the same thing. And I'm going to tell you we're not in the business of tax and accounting. And if you don't understand the difference, it can be the difference between understanding what you do, who you are, how you react to customers and clients, and how you attract them. It can also kill you. Okay. And I'm going to give you some examples of businesses, fairly large businesses, that have gone out of business because they actually did not understand what business they're in. So let me give you an example. Okay. Like I said to you, if you came to us and you look at us, you might say, well, you do a lot of tax and accounting, so you are an accountancy practice. And I will say to you, no, that's not the business we're in. Yes, we do tax and accounting, but the business that we're really in is how we help and educate our clients to work less, earn more, and generate unbelievable wealth. Okay. And that separates us out a little bit from our competition, because everybody else is saying we're doing tax and accounting. And I'm saying, no. We kind of do. We can do that for you too. And we're very good at it. But this is what we're really about. Okay. And what that does is it focuses everybody's attention within the team to those things that are really important. Okay. So anything, whether it's educational, whether something comes through my email, anybody in the firm will say anything to do with working less, earning more, creating wealth, we want to know about, because if we can find out more about that, we can educate our clients more about it too. Okay. Now, here's the reason why, if you do not understand what business you're in, number one, you can't differentiate. You can't say we're any different from anybody else in your industry, but it can kill you too. Okay. And I'm going to give you 2 very, very specific examples of businesses that have gone completely because they didn't understand the business they're in. If you're of a newer generation, shall I say, you might not know of these companies very well, but you may have heard of them. Okay, so the first one is Kodak. Okay, so people of my age or my generation will know exactly what Kodak is, because Kodak used to manufacture print film for photography. So in the olden days, if you had a camera, you had to put a film inside your camera. You would take your pictures, then you would take it to, say, Big W or Kmart or wherever it is, and they would print those out based on that roll. Okay. Now, if you ask Kodak what business they were in, they will turn around and say, we are in the printing business, because they did an awful lot of printing. Okay. And also they sold a lot of film. So that's what they believed their industry was. Okay. And to give you an idea of how big Kodak actually was, in 1965, this was a business that was turning over $1 billion. This was a massive, massive, massive organization. And what they had was a very, very large scientific department. And these scientists came up with the first digital camera. That Kodak was the company that created and developed the digital camera. Okay. And they went to their leadership board and said, look, we've created this digital camera. It's going to revolutionize the world. And top leadership looked at it and said, yeah, but we're not in the business of digital cameras. We're in the business of printing and selling print film. And therefore, that's not what we want. And I believe, I'm not certain about this, but I believe they sold the rights to the digital camera to Canon. Okay. Now, the reason they did not understand their business was because they thought they were in the print and film business. They weren't. They were in the business of preserving memories. Okay. And it didn't matter whether that was in digital format. It didn't matter if it was in print format. It didn't matter how it was. Anything that had any relation to creating a memory, they should have been in that space. And because they remained in that space of being a print and film company, technology took over and Kodak pretty much doesn't exist today. Okay. And that's simply because top management did not understand what business they were in. Okay. Second example was is Blockbuster, and again, a lot of the newer generation will not remember or know of a company called Blockbuster. But Blockbuster was basically a place where you went to rent films. You either rent a DVD from them, or in the really, really old days, a VHS tape. So you'd go to a shop, you'd find a film that you'd like or would want to watch. You rent it, you take it home for a few days, and then you take it back. Okay. And Netflix came about, and Netflix ran out of money. And so what they did was Netflix went to Blockbuster and said, hey, can you buy us out? And you can buy us out for, I think the figure was about $50 million. And Blockbuster turned around and said, nah, we're not in that space. We are about renting films, retail store, renting films. Okay, that's our business. And as we all know, digital streaming has taken over the world and Blockbuster no longer exists. And that's because they did not understand the business they were in. Blockbuster was in the business of entertainment. Didn't matter how that entertainment was provided, that's for their business. They weren't in the business of renting movies. They were in the business of entertaining. And how that entertaining is given does not matter. Okay. So we all know Netflix now rules the world and Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore. And yet 25 years ago, it was the exact opposite. And that is why you really, really need to understand, go back to your team, go back to say to you, what exactly are we doing? Why are we doing it? Why is it important? Because what you're going to find, what you say you do is not what you do. Okay. We come across this a lot when we do business plans with clients. We say, what business are you in? And they kind of say, well, it's obvious what business we're in. No, it's not obvious. Okay. And because once you work that out, that's where you kind of completely differentiate yourself from everybody else in your industry. And that's where you're going to get those really, really good customers, those really, really good clients. I hope that was useful. Thank you very much. Have a great day.